Andrew, what do you love about reading?
When I was younger, I read so much, I actually taught myself how to read and walk and not walk into things at the same time. And What do you love about reading?
Well, it certainly helps to tune you out at appropriate times.
Everybody, welcome to the Goldilocks and the Three Cares podcast, the podcast where we take a look at what's too hot, what's too cold, and what's just right with a self-published work. I'm Andrew.
And I'm Crystal.
And Crystal, what were we reading this week?
We read Ignite, which is book 1 in the Midnight Fire series by Kaitlyn, wow.
Oh boy.
Kaitlyn Davis.
And where did you find this book?
It's actually a really popular YA series. So I just searched on Amazon and found the concept to be interesting, so I gave it a read.
Once you read the book, what did you find was too hot? What was there just too much of in the book?
I found that the book had a lot of similarities to Twilight. I mean, there was a scene in the cafeteria where there were some broody strangers and the main character, Kira, asks, "Who are those people?" And we get a lot of, "Oh, those are the weird kids who no one really likes and they're broody and just they stick to themselves. You shouldn't talk to them."
So you found it really derivative.
Yeah, there were quite a few scenes that I could have placed in other books.
What did you find was also too hot? Anything else?
There were several instances where the author used words that didn't really mean, I think, what she wanted to imply.
Do you have an example?
Yeah, for example, we have Kira felt the heat rush through her body and moved with Tristan as he pushed her back against the wall and encased her body within his.
That's so you're referring to the word encased.
Yeah, I know what she was going for, but it's just not quite there. So there was a few times where that bumped me.
After reading the book, what did you find was too cold? What was there just not enough of?
The villains I found didn't really seem to have a lot of motivation. It was a lot of, we are vampires and we are evil, you are our enemy, and we're going to kill you.
So you're saying that there was just no depth to the characters.
Yeah, I like my villains to have a bit of, just to be a little more complex. I like when I root for them a little bit. Mm-hmm. I want to know why they're doing what they're doing. And I know we're dealing with vampires, which are technically evil beings and creatures, but I want a little more to them other than...
Yeah, I know. We're finding a lot in popular television, popular media that shows like, Breaking Bad and Dexter and even, Mad Men. The principal character is really an anti-hero. They're not a good person, but we kind of understand their motivations. Walter White from Breaking Bad needs to make meth to pay off his bills to have money for his family. Don Draper was an orphan. Same thing with Dexter. Are you finding that, you're having more needs from your villains because it's just villains are everywhere and they're much richer characters?
So I disagree with you in the sense of, in this case, the villains are not anti-heroes. They're not main characters.
Okay.
They're minor characters, really. They sort of add the conflict in this novel. But I can see what you're saying in terms of we want a little bit more. We want to see a little bit more from our villains. I just want more compelling characters. If I read about a particular person and I want to know why they're doing what they're doing, rather than just, aha, I'm evil.
How did you find the other characters, specifically female characters in the book?
So in the case of the villains, there's a villain female vampire who's sort of the leader of the pack, which I thought was pretty cool. But there was a lot of, well, I want Tristan, who's the love interest. I want Tristan all to myself. So there's a jealousy factor there. Her other friends, when they're female and there's interactions with Kira, again, the main character, they don't really talk about a whole lot other than boys.
Yeah.
And how hot and cute the boys are. There's an instance where Kira she gets injured and Tristan saves her, and she's speaking about it with her friend, and there's a lot of, he looked so hot saving you, you should have seen it, it was amazing. Not a lot of depth to the female relationships, which I find a little disappointing. Yeah,
I was reading an interesting article on a website that was talking about, I forget what it's exactly called, but there's an index that basically goes through, a work like a book or a TV show or a movie, and it says, how many scenes do the two female characters have where the principal topic isn't about another male character.
Right.
And you found that this was very much the case. It was very derivative. The female characters were interacting to talk about boys.
Yes. And as a woman, and it being a young adult book, I would want to see a little bit more there.
But what did the author get just right? What did they just hit that you just loved and made you want to read the next book in the series?
I thought that there was a great twist on the typical YA vampire novel. Kira's power is very different. She actually has a power, actually. She's able to save herself.
Her power's not defenselessness?
Yeah, no, it's not. It's great.
Good.
So I thought that was a good score for the female population, really. You know, I don't want to spoil what her power is.
But it's significant.
But it's, yeah.
So she's surrounded by vampires, but she has a completely different power. And I think that presents a really interesting choice as a writer. You know, when you say vampire, you know, there's a certain amount of inherent knowledge in everyone. You know, they like blood, not so much a fan of the daytime, the hanging upside down, the bats, can't be seen in mirrors. There's a level of understanding that we have there. But when you say brand new power, you're essentially starting, you know, carte blanche. Why do you think the author went with a brand new power?
Well, I thought it was interesting. A lot of times when people ask, you know, how do you come up with ideas for writing? The one thing that you should do is ask the what if question. And I think here she asked, you know, what if I gave the main character the one or a power that would really prevent a vampire and a human being from being together? And I think that creates a really great conflict and something that can be built upon for the rest of the series.
What else did you like about the book that really is building in the series?
I liked the relationship with the two men, Tristan and Luke. They're compelling in the sort of traditional love triangle sense.
So they're both very different, but both very attractive.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you've got the bad boy, and then you've got the comedic relief. Both I found were compelling characters, and and Kira, the main character's interaction with them were great.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like you're excited to read the next book in the series.
Yeah, I would definitely give that a download and a read.
So who do you recommend should read this?
Anyone who enjoys books about vampires.
And there's a few of them.
And there's,
Not many.
Just no.
Yeah,
just a couple of 100,000. And, you know, anyone who likes young adult books.
That's good. So where can we find you, Crystal?
Well, you can find Goldilocks and the Three Cares on iTunes. You can also find us on my website at www.everythingstemporary.com. And I'm also on Twitter and Facebook.
And everybody, thank you very much for listening to the Goldilocks and the Three Cares podcast, the one where we take a look at what's too hot, what's too cold, and what's just right with a self-published book.
Until next time, keep reading.
We all like donuts.
I can't have them, though.
No.